What is up, YouTube? And today we're going to be talking about Fushu for PvP. Now, as you guys know, she is extremely powerful in PvP. If you guys have been playing PvP at all, or if you even play Arena, regular Arena that is, you're going to see that if I go to the leaderboards here, that she is basically going to be in a ton of defense teams, right? Currently, there's a lot of cleave defense teams as well, but pretty much like 80% of the turn 2 Bruiser style defense teams are going to have her as well, and she's also extremely powerful in Guild Wars defense as well. And the reason why is because her S3 is just goated. So Moonlit Veil is just an extremely broken ability. Basically, while this is up, your team can't really die unless they get Giga Bursted, and the reason why is because every time they get hit, they get turn meter pushed, they get healed. Every time they end their turn, they also get it as well. And it's just a really OP ability, and the shield that she puts up with the speed buff is extremely powerful. Just two extremely strong buffs. And then after that, her skills don't really matter too much. Her S2 hits pretty hard for support. It also can trigger Moonlit Veil. It's a random chance unless you max it, which I don't think people would do. I think level 4 is probably how high you would get it if you wanted to. And then her S1, okay ability, pushes 2 random allies turn meter by a certain percent depending on your skill ups, and her passive is going to be every time an enemy ends their turn, you get turn meter pushed if you don't have Moonlit Veil up, which is great to get, back into Moonlit Veil. And also you'll get turn meter pushed, or not turn meter pushed, turn meter reduced if she already has it and an enemy takes their turn, which is going to make it so that you can stay in this form as long as possible. Now, in terms of skill investment, honestly, you can make her work at 1-1-1 in PvP even, and also PvE, but ideally you do want her 1-1-3 for that extra turn meter push. It goes from, I think, 9% or 8% to 12%, which is a pretty big deal. And eventually you do want to max this out if you can, because it just makes it so that you heal a lot. But you can see I'm rocking 1-1-3 and it still works. And it's mostly because this character is just ridiculously overpowered, and she's the best healer in Bruiser Mirrors, because while her S3 is up, you pretty much can't die in Bruiser Mirrors. You can die obviously in Cleave or through Burst, but in Bruiser Mirrors, you can't actually do enough damage to burst through the shield for the most part, and you get punished for hitting anything because you're healing them and also allowing them to cycle faster, so everything is on strive basically, which is super annoying. Now, in terms of her build, there's going to be 2 builds, mostly in terms of her shells, but her matrices and modules are pretty much going to be the same. You're going to want to run her on Bloodbath, Bulwark, Evil Guard for the most part, and you're going to want to run her on, I'd say 2 F-Res pieces and 1 HP is probably the best. Some people actually run 3, but I think that just makes her too squishy, especially versus Cleavers. So I have 1 HP bonus, and you want the 2 F-Res because you don't want it to get reset by stuff like Holden later on, and also you actually are running her on Bulwark anyways, so having this F-Res will make it so that this gets dispelled off at a lower chance, so you can actually pick her earlier on into the draft and play her somewhat against CC teams. She's not the best against CC, but if you have her on this F-Res build, and if you can actually get this S3 off by, not getting dispelled or resisting, you pretty much win the game against CC teams, and you have a really good shot against Cleave teams as well. Now, in terms of your shell, there's a lot of different ways to actually build her. So Supernova is the most common one because this lines up with your S3 cooldown. It's 4 turn cooldown. Supernova is also 4 turns. So if you're not reducing cooldowns with Doki Doki or something like that, or even Mia, this lines up perfectly. And basically Supernova also lasts 2 turns, the same as her S3 shield. So basically you just can't die. You get extra healing. The Supernova effect where you're getting extra healing will work even on the turns that you're getting hit. So it just makes it so that you just heal a ton more. So it makes your team pretty much unkillable on this setup. And then you want HP percent. I like healing done. It just makes it so that you heal a lot more, and it's mostly because I don't have her S3 maxed out, so it kind of makes up for that. And then your last shell passive, I like to run Insight because Fushu is pretty tanky anyways, but Dauntless is also a pretty good option. But I definitely think Insight or even Synergy are probably going to be very good for her, because Synergy gives you extra damage, and then Insight will give you that effect resist to help resist stuff. Now, you can also run her on different shells. I know some people like her on Codex because you can S3 twice, and it just makes it so that you can't die for pretty much 3 or 4 turns in a row. The only thing with Codex is you will lose your Bulwark after your first turn, especially if you run into an Holden, right? So if Holden, actually, where's my Holden at? If Holden S3s off the rip, I don't know where my Holden is. Yeah, right here. He can S3, right? And and then he can Jackal Guard to push himself up. He can S2 you, and then you're pretty screwed. So because of that, I don't really like Codex too much, but it's a decent option. Some people also like to run her on Halloween. Obviously not on this setup. It'd be on, if I can find it down here, somewhere over here, this setup right here. Pretty much the same thing, but on Halloween. And you run it because you just can permanently S3. The only thing is your S3 will be a little bit less effective, but this cooldown reduction is very good. Basically, if you have it on Halloween, what you will do is not really use your S2 too much unless you're looking to burst something or to get that extra proc. And then you'll be just resetting the cooldown of your S3 only, which makes it very good on her. If you run her on Halloween, you can run her actually faster. It's not that bad. But for Supernova and Codex, I think running her a bit slower and just on full HP and FRES is going to be your best bet. But I'll just show you guys why Fushu is so powerful. I'm not going to show you the whole game, but just basically when she has the S3 up. So you can see it's a typical Bruiser versus Bruiser. He actually didn't pick a healer, which was very interesting. I think he's trying to like burst down my Lilium, which is a viable strategy, as you can see. But the reason why it's so good is you can see my Fushu cuts because of her passive, right? She gets turn meter when the enemy takes a turn. And then she puts up this S3. And this makes it so that at this point, even though my Lilium's very squishy and vulnerable, she's just healing and cycling very quickly. Even if Rahu follows up there, she would live with like a sliver of health. And that's without, you know, my Lilium being max duped. And now, because my Lilium's cycling very quick, just look how fast she ends up healing up. And it's not even because of her lifesteal, which does contribute, but you're going to see that every time she takes a turn, she's getting slight healing. And because I have Lily, I can actually just, you know, push her very quickly. So it makes it so that not even just Bruiser teams, but in aggressive teams where you're DPS racing against, you know, multiple Bruisers, you're able to heal up very quickly. You can see my Lilium is now at max HP. And she's just really annoying because while she's alive, pretty much nothing can die on your side as long as you don't get bursted down off the opener like I just showed you. But that is Fushu, guys. Very powerful character. She has very high presence in every single game if someone plays Bruiser. You can see I pick her very often in pretty much every game. Fushu's on this guy's team this game. Fushu's on my side this game. Fushu's on my side this game. And, you know, there's just a lot of times where you're going to end up picking her if you have her built. So definitely a character you want to build for your roster if you have her. Amazing in PvP, and also is just very low investment compared to other characters in the game. And she also is amazing in PvE. So if you are looking at PvE content just to watch for fun or just planning ahead, if you build your Fushu, she can help you in Sharon. She's very good in Aurora. She's also extremely powerful in Doki Doki and also Teramaton. And you can even use her in a comp for Rengokutsu as well. And she'll probably be decent for the new shell boss that's coming out, Chloros, but, you know, that's to be determined. Now, of course, her build could change with the new shell boss coming out, and I'll have to update it. But for now, you know, this is going to be, in my opinion, the most run setup and very common and very powerful. Doesn't really matter what you run her on. Just make sure she's on this shell matrix, not shell matrix, module matrix like this, and then you run her on Supernova or even Codex or even Halloween. And you will see that she will be amazing at carrying your team on defenses and also in RTA. But yeah, pretty much it for this video though, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.